And Alf, would you like to come and join us? We have got a moving chair.
You put something forward which hasn't been heard before, the Turkish troops moving into British, to be accommodated by British in the British bases. And that's something that's not been sort of talked about, whether people of both communities, Turkish Cypriots or Greek Cypriots, will accept that. I mean, is it something feasible? Has it been sort of talked about? I mean,
Quick answer, no, it has not been talked about. So far as I'm aware, the first time it's mentioned publicly is today by myself. Secondly, it obviously could not happen if either the Greek Cypriots or the Turkish Cypriots objected. But if the Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, which is by no means certain, come to an agreement on all other issues and the security issue remains outstanding, on which Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots are not the only people who have a legal input, but also Britain, Greece and Turkey unquestionably have a legal input on the security aspect, then we have to start thinking of ways in which the real security problems can be faced up to. I repeat what I said earlier. I hope the third will not be required. I'm sure the first will be required. I'm absolutely certain the first will be required. The European Union security structure, I'm absolutely certain that will be required. I don't think there will be a settlement without it. I suspect the second would help. I hope the third will not be required, but we are dealing with a situation in which the Turkish military leadership is way behind the Turkish political leadership in understanding the necessity for a solution.
Sorry, can I go on from that, because I didn't actually finish the question.
I'm sorry, I thought you had. I apologize.
Sorry, that's okay. Well, you've said that. Now, the Turkish military, the reason I say it hasn't been tested, people have not had a chance to debate that. That will lead to other things. For example, the Turkish land forces, Mr. Başbuğ, came to the island in March. And he...
Buyuk Kanit came in March too, didn't he?
Sorry?
Buyuk Kanit came in March.
Right. I think he came early in March and the came late in March anyway. So he said that, I think a lot of people look at it as a deliberate ploy by a lot of Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots to spoil the good climate. And basically, they talked against Erdogan's and the Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriots, if they were to come to an agreement, they could override whatever everybody else, and that Turkey has got twin role in Cyprus. One of them was basically to protect the Turkish Cypriots, and the second is to protect the interests of Turkey. Mm-hmm. So nobody has ever explained what the interest of Turkey is in that respect, apart from protecting the Turkish Cypriots. But some have suggested that being part of NATO, now Turkey's role may be to actually protect the British interests there as part of the NATO. So there is going to be a suspicion in that Turkey would actually be sort of accommodated within that. I think that's where this will basically lead to. A lot of people will reject that out of hand as being sort of trying to carve Turkey in on a more sort of permanent basis in Cyprus. I mean, how would you react to that?
Well, obviously I do not want either Turkey or Greece or any country to be on a permanent basis in the Republic of Cyprus. So long as the sovereign base areas exist, they are not part of the Republic of Cyprus. They will be diminished. The British offer to give up part of them stands to this day. I've checked that recently. So they will be reduced in size. But they're still quite they will still be quite substantial. And if it is a question of having a reserve which could not be used which could not be used except in order to back up a European Union security force or a European Union commander in time of crisis, and if that was the means by which one got an agreement on the security aspect, I suspect that most Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots would ultimately go along. I personally hope it will not be necessary, but I want you to realize that when one talks to Turks, to important Turks, to people in positions of authority, privately, as I have done, one realizes that at the present time there is a huge division in Turkey, in the educated and sort of public opinion, but I don't mean wide public opinion, I mean public opinion, but opinion deciders, opinion formers and deciders, between those who think more economically and politically, and who can see that there is a huge advantage to Turkey today in getting the Cyprus problem resolved, provided there is a genuine equality of the two communities and provided that there is true security for the Turkish Cypriots. That is now a sizable group of people, and those who take a much more face-oriented and military-oriented attitude to the problem. And all that I'm doing is, because I'm not in a position of authority, and I can throw out ideas for people to discuss them or throw them down. I'm throwing out various ideas which may be helpful in that situation. So long as you are aware of the problem, I don't mind you in the least saying that you would prefer this not to happen. Quite frankly, I prefer it not to happen either. But I'm aware of the problem, and one needs to be aware of the problem.
Okay, Tom Cox, and then perhaps we'll hear from you.
Costas, you made a wide part of your presentation on Turkey's possible membership of the European Union. And you mentioned 3 countries that, as I understood from you, possibly at the moment have reservations.
Yes. Not possibly, definitely.
Definitely, right. How many of the 27 members of the European Union would now, as far as you're able to tell us, agree Turkey should come in, say Turkey should not come in, or really have yet to be convinced? And the other point I would make to you is that you, and I'm sure all of us in this room this evening, know there is ongoing discussion as to what should be the size of the European Union. We know the Ukraine, we know Georgia wish to be members of the European Union. But I don't believe here in this country at the moment the possibility of Turkey becoming a member is yet really on the political radar. People deeply involved in politics would know about it. But I'm sure there would be many, many people would say, well, I really don't know. Are they trying to become members? And the point I put to you is, what will we in this country, if negotiations continue, what will we in this country be able to say to British people? We know what happened in Ireland last week on the referendum. What are we going to be able to say to British people why Turkey should be a member of the European Union?
Well, in response to that, Turkey and Croatia are in a totally different situation from the Ukraine, Georgia, or any other country. In Turkey and Croatia, and only in Turkey and Croatia, the negotiation process has begun. The issue which will be decided next year is that the opponents of Turkey acceding are going to try to reverse that. So it is a totally different situation from the Ukraine. I don't accept, incidentally, that the Ukraine wants to become a member of the European Union. It depends whether you were a part of the Hetmanate or not. The north and west of the country want, which was passed to the Hetmanate in the 17th, 18th century. The east and south of the country, which were first became conquered by the Tsarist army from the Tatars, don't want. So Ukraine is evenly divided. But that's irrelevant, because Ukraine has not yet started an accession process. Turkey has. It's a huge difference. Therefore, every single European chancellery is keeping under consideration the issue of Turkey and the issue of Croatia. And whereas Croatia is going pretty well, and almost certainly will accede, Turkey is at the present time not going well, partly as a result of a hideous error, which many Turks accept as a hideous error, by Erdogan in not keeping to his signature and opening Turkish ports and airports to Cyprus flag vessels, which was a huge error. Breaking your word in the European Union is not one of the things that you do, particularly when you're in an accession negotiations.